Welcome to the Fifth Trooper Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Fifth Trooper Podcast. I am Evan, and with me today I've got Nick.
Hey guys.
Who is known as Ground Police on the Discord, and Ben.
Yep.
Hey.
Who's known as ImperialSympathizer. We decided to do an after, like a week after Adepticon kind of breakdown about now that the dust has settled, thoughts, feelings, and it kind of
experiences.
Yeah, like what actually like went down. You can listen to the Notorious Scoundrels for more of what happened to me. And Kyle, like, it was kind of cool to have Kyle like ask me questions that he may not know for a change. So like I did it. But other than that, it was like what that lat do know. So so that was cool. But go over there and check that out. But for here, the Fifth Trooper's always been known as more of the Everyman cast, so we brought on some friends. So Luke Cook was supposed to be here, but he's busy doing like something athletic and cool, probably. So
yeah, something way cooler than us. Yeah, he's probably wearing sunglasses wherever he is.
Yeah, that's that guy. But that's cool. But so
getting ready to stomp me in Simp and Invader League.
Oh dude.
Yeah.
What's he playing?
10x Palpatine.
Ooh.
Yeah, full triple shore, triple mortar gun line.
Yeah, he and Kyle both
10x
actually.
Really?
He and Kyle both are running 10x Palpatine. They're different lists, but they're pretty similar.
So speaking of Palpatine, Ben, what did you play at Adepticon? Because it was actually your list. I'd never seen it before, and so when I saw you set up, I'm like, you just fed me Bossk, that idiot. And then you like did 5 and 5 and my lap blew up. And then like, I'm like, oh no, I've fallen into the trap.
Yeah. So I brought Palpatine to Adepticon, and I brought Bossk with him. So the list is if there was ever a list that is tailored exactly to Bossk, it would be that list.
Like, honestly,
I love it.
To your credit, very genius. I didn't see it. Like, you were saying the units you put down, I'm like, what a weird choice. And then when I shot at him and he took no damage, I'm like, oh no.
So for context, for people that may not like fully understand, I guess, how what the list is and how it functions, you can kind of think of it like a Yoda Padme saber almost, in a way, where the idea is to just shoot really hard with one unit. And have that same unit also be pretty much unkillable. So the way that it works with Palpatine and Bossk is that Palpatine is pulling the strings on Bossk, so you're shooting twice around with him. And then you've got 3 units of Imperial Guards, the Royal Guard, and so you've got 18 wounds of
Just a
Guardian.
whole boatload of Guardian.
Yeah.
18 red save wounds of Guardian that you are putting anything that Bossk gets shot by, it all just goes to the Royal Guards. You've also got barrier on Palpatine to like knock off a few extra hits every round. And this was not a reliable strategy before the Protector upgrade came out, because before Protector upgrade came out, like if people were shooting crits at Bossk, like he was just going to have to eat them. But the Royal Guards can take Protector now, so if they want to throw crits at Bossk, then the Royal Guard can just say, I'm gonna grab 2 of those crits, I'll just take that over here. And you'd think that since Protector's only a like one-time use per round type upgrade, that maybe you can get through the shields eventually, right, with certain crit spam lists and stuff like that. But the Royal Guards can actually just take a recover action to get Protector back. So it's harder than it sounds. But yeah, so you run, I think the list that I brought to Adepticon had 4 copies of Electro Binoculars. Yeah. 4 copies of Electro Binoculars, and then an Imperial Officer. So you could load Bossk up with 5 names per turn. So it was kind of like a miniature, if you're familiar at all with his 3-pip, kind of like a miniature lying in waits every turn. And then when you're shooting twice with Palpatine, it kills stuff. So
yeah, I was
We'll try
I
to get a
was
link to that
shocked.
posted in the description too.
Yeah, I was
Yeah, let me
actually
s-
shocked about how like
Yeah.
useful that was.
So yeah, so it's a pulling the lizard, wizard.
Yeah,
I don't know.
wizard,
Trying to
lizard,
trying to
wizard,
think.
wizard.
Yeah,
I can never remember what the correct order of that naming is, though.
Yeah,
If
it's-
it's lizard, wizard, or wizard, lizard.
I like wizard.
I kind of
Wizard.
just
Yeah.
I kind of just use them interchangeably because like
Yeah.
some days like one sounds better than the other, and then like another day I'll completely switch and do it the other way. So I don't know.
No, it was mean, dude. Like I didn't quite understand what was happening. You put Bossk up top. I'm like, oh, that's really weird. And you put the rest of your armory down. I'm like, man, he really thinks he can kill Krennic, huh? Like, because you normally you take the squish your target for bounty, right? Like, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, well, all right. And then you put 5 into the lat. I'm like, you're not lying in wait turn, 5 crits. So I'm like,
Yeah.
uh-oh.
Yeah.
I think I see what's happening. And then you blew the lat up on top of the building when Vader had to like old man get down. Like, oh god.
Yeah. No,
sorry.
actually, that was Palpatine's given to your anger.
Oh,
Ah, yes.
I forced you
Yeah.
to go first.
Oh yeah.
Forced you to go first with Vader while the lat was still on top of a building.
Oh.
So
yes, the
Vader
good
was
old
like,
getcha.
so the lat had what, 3 wounds left?
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, I can either sit still with Vader, and as soon as the lat dies, Vader is on top of this building with a wound completely in the open. Or your option was to, all right, I'll just get out of the lat now, like disembark and then clamber down the building, still be in the open, but at least like
Yeah.
slightly closer. So
I thought that
I think you
was
took the
game.
correct option.
Yeah, I thought that was game right there because I'm like, oh, he outplayed me. It's like the whole time, like, yeah, just drive this thing forward. And then I'm like, well, he won't get 5 crits the first shot, 5 crits. Well, he won't get another 3 crits.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. So it was a good game.
Yeah, so Bossk has targeting scopes on him. So he rerolls up to 3 dice per aim. And for the quick math on that, like 3 dice was search to crit. You've got about like a 6/8 chance of rolling a crit on every aim. So it's pretty good odds of
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, 6/8. That doesn't sound.
Yes, it's because it's 2 crits
Yeah,
per die,
3/4.
effectively.
Yeah, 3/4 chance. So yeah, he rolls a lot of crits with all those things.
No, it
long
was
story short.
Like, my advice is, if you've wanted to play Palp for a while, if you're an Empire player and you're like, man, Palp's on my shelf, and you've got Bossk too, try a version of this out. I was shocked, actually. I'm like, oh no. And like, everything was falling apart so quick right at the beginning. I was like visibly sweating.
Yeah.
That was woof. But it was a
great
really
game,
cool
though.
list. Yeah, dude. Oh, it came down like I felt bad. So
Well, no. So, well, I think you gave some more context on the Scoundrels podcast, but for those that didn't see that, what the game kind of ended up coming down to was Palpatine sort of force pushed Vader into the open so that he was getting shot by my entire army. And then Vader went into the top of another round with, I think, 5 suppression on him or something like that. Like he got shot up a bunch, but he only had like, what did he have? Like 3, it was 3 or 4 wounds. So like Vader was like still like semi-healthy, but it was likely that he was going to be suppressed.
Yeah.
But the thing was, Bossk was beyond range 1, so there was no way he was going to get tagged by Vader from a single if Vader ended up being suppressed. But he was within range of like a double move tap from Vader. So what ended up happening is I just got really greedy actually, and I won priority on that round. And then I could have shot you with Bossk, or I could have shot you with Palpatine or something else.
Yeah.
And I didn't. In fact, because you played Master of Evil that turn, and I was like, oh shit, like I need to deal with this because my entire army's about to get bombed with suppression. So I started moving away from Vader and like just putting some more aims on Bossk. And then you rolled 5 off. You just rallied all 5 off Vader and killed Bossk, and that was that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember talking to him like, man, maybe I get 1 or 2. That'd be okay. Like, I'll still be suppressed, but it'd feel good to roll something. And I hit that big, and I'm like, I feel like a huge. I was like calling this like little like I hope.
To give you some more credit, though, like I don't think that the odds of rallying to the point where Vader isn't suppressed is actually that low, because I went back and I did some like napkin math on it.
Yeah, if you're rolling 5 dice, your average is a little bit below 2,
right?
But hitting that third isn't like crazy,
right? Technically, the average is that like you're not actually going to be rallying enough to be like you're still going to be suppressed. Like that's the average. But I mean, you only have to roll 3 off to not be suppressed. So rolling 3 off out of 5 is not that crazy. So it's really a lesson for me where I was like, if I'm playing around with Bossk's life on the line with that sort of roll, like I probably ought to put 2 more suppression on Vader just to be safe.
Because you had to bomb too, and I'm like, you played his 1 pip. I'm like, oh, is he gonna bomb his own army to kill me? Because you could. It was like
right. Like, I actually could have merciless munitions you, then shot you to put you up to 8 suppression and with a poison token. I would have had to put a poison token on Palpatine in exchange, but I've done that before in another wild game where I merciless munitioned my entire army and I still won that game.
Oh, damn. Okay.
So it actually pays off. Like if you're
speaking of mines, remind me when we get around to it. I have a crazy story of mines from the team tournament when we did around to that.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, want to hear this.
Yeah,
so,
all right.
But anyway, so it was a really fun list. I will say, my lesson from Adepticon, I ended up going 2-2. I lost to two Vaders in a row, one Operative Vader and then one Commander Vader. Well, it was your Operative Vader, Evan, and then the next round it was Commander Vader with Dewbacks. That I don't really need to get into details too much on that game, but I think the lesson for this list specifically, like this iteration of the list, you can do different things. Like this list is very all in on Bossk. You can run some different versions of this list where it's more of like a gunlining approach, where you've got like maybe some T-21 stormtroopers or like shore troopers or whatever. You don't have to go like this, like, oh, I'm just going to put all my eggs in one basket with Bossk. But if you do want to run this list, I would say you need to have really, really good threat prioritization. Like you need to really understand what are the most important units that you need to be shooting on your opponent's side of the field at all times. Because if you are shooting the wrong unit with Bossk, and the unit that you should be getting is getting off pretty much scot-free because Bossk is the only unit that's shooting on your side, then you can really run into some significant problems because like you just don't have the, like a lot of other lists, this list is really good against attrition. But unlike, normal gun lines and stuff like that, you don't really have the saturation, the threat saturation to make up for those kind of like errors in judgment. So you've really got to be on your game with this type of list. But yeah, that's all I basically got to say.
No, sure. I mean, it was cool because I'd never seen anything like it. Like I don't play on TTS too much. I play either my local or I go to events. So I see a lot of the same like AAT droids, leader, Luke, Han, right? Very just like
right.
Milk, I don't say milk toast, but just very like run.
You've seen it. You've seen it once. You've seen it 1,000 times, sort of.
Yeah. So when I saw this and I wasn't really sure, I'm like, Bossk ran top. We're gonna shoot him. And then the first time I shot, and I'm like, with the lad, it was like 4 crits and a couple hits, and I'm like, yeah, let's go bear in. And then you pulled it all off.
Like, yeah.
No.
I think you rolled like 6 or 7 into Bossk with the lats shooting. And then I was just like, yeah, I'm going to Guardian all of that.
You force barrier, pull to here, pull to here. And I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like,
yeah. And then I just kind of saw your face and you were like, oh, and like the wheels were turning and you were just like, everything was just like kind of clicking into place for you. And you're like, oh. I
panic looked around too. I'm like, but somebody, he can do that. Can you do that?
Yeah. Like, is this legal? So yeah, it's
crazy.
It's an off the wall list. And that's one nice thing about it is that not many people will really know how to play against it. And a lot of times they'll be kind of caught unawares with some of the things that it can do. So it can really be a lot of fun to play. But this is a list that I think it tends to either win really hard or it tends to lose really hard. So
yeah, it's kind of all in on Bossk being able to do enough damage that he needs to.
It's a so when people ask me, is Empire bad? I mean, no, Gar's bad right now. If I had to say they're just not quite pointed right. But Empire is not bad, but you have to play interesting things to make them really do something. It's like this is like, you can't, like the gun line of just like, well, I'll take Veers and a bunch of Storms and I don't know.
That's a thing of the past.
Yeah, like you're just gonna get outdone. Like droids will just they can do that and be better. Or like, well, I'll take double ATST, and it's like, it's really cool on the table, but like, no, that's kind of like, because it really sucks when you get your main cannon on your giant killing robot and your whites don't show up on your like your 2 rainbows, and so you're just like 2 after heavy cover. I'm like, that was 200 points. Like that was a 200 point shot. Like, oof.
To be clear, I think the generic Empire gun lines, like what you're kind of talking about, where it's like you're running like double heavy, or you're just running like a Veers with like shores or whatever. I think those lists are fine.
Yeah, they're not bad.
Yeah, they're just not gonna.
They have
break that ceiling.
Right. They have acute weaknesses, which is mainly burst of speed saber users, in my opinion.
Which are relatively common now.
Those are pretty common, and they're just those bursts of speed combined with force push. It is really, really hard to come back from any saber user like getting into your lines on turn 2 or turn 3 without a force push of your own.
In addition to those burst of speed force users, there's now a new wave of Vader Lat players.
Yeah.
Thanks, this guy here.
Dude, it was just, what the funny thing is so little behind the scenes when I was making this list, it's people said the Lat was bad. And so I've got this problem where I go, it's not bad. I'll make it good. I'll show you. I'll show
You're all wrong.
Right. So I took the Lat and I'm like, well, Nick can attest, I've tried so many versions of this list, and they were all bad. This one kind of shook out, but ended up being, well, I'm like, well, what if you're on a table that's not, so I'm not going to keep harping on TTS, I promise, it's fine. But when I say it's like, TTS has perfect tables, more or less, where it's like,
or they try to achieve that. Yeah.
And in real life, when you go to a big event, they're not perfect. So I said, well, it was either going to be Vader Lat or Op Luke Bus. So, okay, low key, it was going to be Op Luke Bus Lando was going to be my list, because that's
which I'm surprised we haven't seen more. Not necessarily the bus. I'm not sure Op Luke really needs the bus.
Oh no, he does, because you're going to be on a table like Planet Bowling Ball, and there's going to be a gun line he's got to run into. Even burst of speed won't clear it.
You were there on the skirmish day, right, Evan? So you saw what was the map? It was like a Mustafar, like lava planets.
Yes.
So I don't want to call out like whoever brought the.
No. Yeah. But, it's just what happens.
There was this one, and this was just kind of like an anecdotal example. But there was this one table where it was a lava map, and the only thing on that table was crashed X-wing bits. Yep. Like none of them were line of sight blockers. It would all be like heavy cover. Yeah. But there was absolutely zero line of sight blockers on the table. Thankfully, like the people that were like running the tournament and stuff, they kind of were reviewing tables on that skirmish day. So they added some line of sight blockers to that table before the tournament actually fired off. But it was just like that. That's something that is not unusual to see in real life.
Like there will at big events especially, and it's not like it's. People running these usually know what they're doing. Like, it's just you have to. Can you imagine, like, all right, if we just came to you and like, all right, in a month we need you to source 64 tables of Legion.
Right, and it's not just the sourcing; it's also like, okay, we have 60 tables. We literally have maybe 10 hours to set up. That's like even if you were doing nothing else, you didn't eat, you didn't sleep, you didn't do anything. Like, if you just sat there for 24 hours working on 60 tables, that's still less than like 20 minutes per table. It's not enough to act like nobody can sit down and balance tables at a large events like that to the point where you're gonna have like these flawless tables. Some are gonna just kind of like be really good, just a little bit like lucky, or the person that brought the terrain maybe like has a really good setup for it, so they put it in that configuration, and it's like, oh yeah, this table works out really well.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's just like, hey, here's a box, we're just gonna slap the stuff on the table and like hope it works.
The only event I'll ever complain about for the terrain was the first Nova Open, because that terrain was shipped from Fantasy Flight. It was like, they're like, this is what we think should be it, and it was good. It was good looking, but you got 4 pieces. Yeah, it was bad. No, yeah. So I brought like an 8 back. This was early Legion, so like
that was back in the Barricada days, right?
Oh, Barricadia, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just brought like an ATST. I didn't know what I was walking into, so I brought an ATST, like Veers, I think, maybe Vader. I don't remember. It was just like a Veers gunline ATST. Like, it was all I was out. And I'm like, all right. And I saw the tables, and I'm just like, yeah, all right. Like, here we go.
Yeah,
boys.
ATSTs like that.
Yeah, it was bad. Talked to Kyle. I remember Kyle distinctively being there. But it was like they had no idea like what their game even was. It felt like just like, yeah, here's a but that was the only time I ever like will hold active judgment, because I was directly from the company who made the game, saying like, hey, here you go. But everything else you see is like, these are people's personal stock, right? So like, I don't like. I thought for 64 tables, they were.
I thought Adepticon was pretty good for
pretty good, right?
Like,
I thought the tables by and large, like I would say 90% of them were all like really solid. There were a few outliers, but I mean, yeah, they're really good.
Actually, that Planet Pinball or Planet Bowling Ball, that one that you were just talking about, I was playing. My match was against Keegan, not the internet Keegan, another Keegan.
Oh, God.
And so we got paired up.
Other Keegan, you know who you are.
Yeah. Hey, look, some people don't want. That's fine. I have to say first name, and so I got matched, and I looked at the table, and I said, we're not playing here. They like, I had, because I had it was my skirmish list was just like Bossk, Krennic, Death Troopers, Shores, Mortar, Sniper, and I'm like, you're not. This is awful. Like, I'd feel skirmish is supposed to be kind of like whatever. Like, so I'm like, no, you're not gonna have a good time. This sucks.
Well, you know what's funny is a lot of the tables that I've played on at my local have ended up kind of feeling like that, and it's like a different experience altogether. Not necessarily bad, but it's playing on a table like that where there's basically 0 line of sight blockers. It's really interesting. Like for what it kind of makes, it really makes you like change the way that you play from a normal game.
Yeah, it's a lot different, but I think it's different just because that element is missing. Like,
right.
I think
range and range bands become a lot more important in those types of games.
I think it's important to not have perfect boards all the time, because red player gives some agency to like, all right, like we're gonna be playing. You're gonna have like a force user hostage. Oh no, but at least I get like the good side of the table. There should be like some bit of a trade off. So,
yeah, I think that. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was going to say,
no, go ahead.
That's an interesting thing that you bring up, because I actually think as red player, if you're going in blind and you don't know what the other player's battle deck is, like sometimes you're going to have like a guess, right? You're like, oh, you're playing Vader, like you probably have hostage exchange. Like sure, but you don't really know what your opponent's running in their battle deck most of the time, unless it's like a tournament where all of that stuff has been posted up on a website. And a lot of the time that can really make it challenging for the red player to know which side of the board is actually better, right?
Yeah, true.
Because, depending on the objectives, that could vastly affect, like, if the key position needs to go here, or if the payload needs to go here, or, like, oh, I've got this one, like, very perfectly set up line of sight blocker so that I can double move my hostage on turn 1 right behind it. Like, you know what I mean? That sort of stuff. And it can actually really make it challenging. And so it was just making me think about that, because it was like, well, what if red player could actually choose their board edge after seeing After seeing their opponent's cards, maybe.
Yeah.
Before vetoes occur, but like after seeing their opponent's
He just
cards.
gets to see the deck.
Yeah, it'd be
I don't think red player necessarily needs more advantage, but
yeah. Maybe like you don't even before you even shuffle it, you just like then we shuffle, then we lay it out. So then it's still like a guessing game of like, what's going to be, because it's red player is actually very strong right now. To that point, I never got blue player in all of my games. Skirmish, it doesn't matter. You just get whatever, right? It's
you keep downplaying it. Keep on downplaying it.
Skirmish is just whatever. Okay, I'm not downplaying. Okay, so Grimmer, you are the skirmish champion, and you wear that medal with pride. There it is. There it is. Kind of heavy is the crown
on the microphone
that wears the skirmish first place.
Honestly, yeah, it skirmish is inherently unbalanced in some ways. So there are, but
I wasn't trying to downplay. I was just more thinking like there's not a world for skirmish, right? It's just kind of like, hey, here's that's it. The competitive skirmish league starting now. So that's crazy about it, right? So it's like I thought, well, Vader, everyone's like, oh, force users don't need anything else. They got burst of speed, they'll get there. I'm like, well, sometimes they don't. Like sometimes you get a table like the one where there's just no line of sight blocking and you don't. So that's what Vader Lap came in. But I was really close on doing Op Luke or Commander, probably Op Bus Lando, because Lando can hand him a standby because Op Luke needs more things. So like if you're a Rebel player and you're like, man, I want that same experience, put Luke in a bus, deep strike Lando somewhere, and just push that bus forward. They have to maybe kill it because it'll keep healing Luke. It's really figured out. I made one that's like 9x, 10x. Compare notes with me. But if you want the same experience that I did with my Imperial stuff, it's not as janky. Like you don't get as many like cool like I'm in the I get to do stuff things that Vader does, but the bus can heal Luke.
But you get Op Luke.
You get Op Luke, like who cares, right? It's like one shot that group, pull you in, you lift, disengage, do a cartwheel over here, kill your other guy. I son of Skywalker, your leader, sure.
Disengage is so good.
Dude,
oh my god. That's the biggest thing that actually worried me is like any other force. For those not to know, in the big tournament, I was playing the gross meta droid, double Magna, double spider, just that atrocity. But like any other force user, even with force push, I can pretty much pin down with two MagnaGuards.
Right.
Because they'll push one and then they'll be stuck with the other, and I can count on probably out shooting them with the rest of my army, and then I'll be okay. I can just kind of handle them for a bit. Op Luke does not.
Nope.
He just pushes one away and then just walks away and goes and murders whatever he wants to.
Disengage is a really strong keyword, which is why now that it's on a 100-point unit for 4, you can give 4 units.
4 units. Dodge and impervious disengage.
For 2 pip, 2. It's not even a 3 pip.
It's anyway. We don't have to go down that rabbit.
No,
we'll touch on that play a little bit. It's a little bit sweaty. We'll touch on it. So why that works? Evan, would you pull up the super tattoo pit for us now that we segued into that? Let's educate the masses.
Okay, there's a super tank, stupid Troy, stupid card. Anyone you want in particular?
I prefer the generic, actually.
Okay. I think Strategize 2 is just like criminal. So
yeah,
I'm a Kalani.
Strategize 2 is nice, but I've had that override come in clutch.
Override can be good, yeah.
Also, those 5 points are nice too. I pushed those points up, to the limit. So I won still a bit of a bid. So those 5 points actually were kind of felt.
Yeah.
Preservation protocols.
Yeah. So the wording on this card is whenever the super tech issues an order to a droid trooper unit. So that includes obviously the 2 orders from the card, but what it also includes is the order it gives from direct. And then if you give your super tech a comms relay, which I definitely think you should do, if he gets like a coordinate chain from a B1 and then bounces that away, that also counts as a 4th issued order. to give 4 different units disengage, impervious, and a dodge.
Yes,
It's gross.
Veers gets to hand out 2 dodges to his vehicles, and they can dodge 1 crit with it. It was before the outmaneuver keyword existed, so they had to make it really wordy. But
yeah,
it's just the same. It's the same.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, they're comparable. I don't.
You get 1 dodge and outmaneuver on 2 vehicles,
and my art's better too. But
oh my god.
Yeah, Super Tech 2-pip is really good.
Yeah.
Enough said.
I mean, yeah. Oh, no, I won't. No, I can't. I was like, no. Yeah, they're all good. They all do crazy things. The poor Veers over. Nope. Yeah. Poor Wave 1 Veers. Yeah, take.
Yeah. I think Blizzard Force probably you know. I don't know what's coming out with all those new battle forces, but
it's presented as though it will.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that I would be sorely disappointed if they didn't do anything to give Veers a little bit more love with those battle forces. So.
Yeah, because he can do. When I brought him to ACO, I brought last year. I brought like Lat triple bike, made like 11 acts or something with Veers, and it was just like Lat holds back, missile boat, and then bikes go in. Whatever. It was pretty like old Wave 1 thinking.
I still like that list.
It's not bad.
Pin down is really good.
Yeah. And so the old cards have this thing where they just say if the unit has a face up order and not if it was issued by. So there's some crap you can get away with, like with Veers. I think it's like Imperial Discipline. It's not quite. Just not quite.
All units all the uplinks.
So you can like look. Lat's just like, well, don't mind if I do take 2 aims and here's 5 crits. Like
right. If only Rudor was a generic, and you could run.
Yeah,
2
if Rudor was a generic, double Lat might be a thing. But I think honestly, I think Rudor is kind of the only good Lat pilot. I don't think Speed 3 is really that big of an issue. Like, across both factions, I think Rudor is the only good Lat pilot.
I actually think that the TIE pilot is really good. Last Invader League, I ran Vader Lat because that was basically the only thing I could bring myself to run before the RRG updates. And the Imperial TIE pilot, I think it was pretty helpful. But like that was the list I was running it in was like literally, I have a bunch of Captain Stormtroopers and then like Vader. It's like as long as Vader gets in,
all those T-21s.
Right, and it's like as long as Vader, and this was before burst of speed, so Vader didn't have burst of speed, so that extra movement on the lat was like really big deal. And so it's just like as long as Vader gets in, like who cares? You know, you're good.
Yeah. Were you running Commander Vader?
Yeah, it was Commander Vader. Yep. So it was because Operative Vader was like crap back then. He still only had 6 health. He had to spur himself. Commander Vader had infinite courage. He had 8 health. Like you know, he was awesome.
Back then, he was the definite pick.
Back then. He was he was better in the lat, but
I think you can do some cute things with the Gar assault pilot, get a free dodge, and so you drop Anakin off. He's got I take a block, you take a damage, so I get 1 for free. Like it's
he hands out it's like a surge and a dodge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. And Anakin should have exemplar at that point, so anybody can like. Yeah, I was building again. I was bringing a lat of something or a bus, but it was gonna be the lat. So I was doing Anakin Padme lat, or it might have been Anakin lat. I don't remember. But it's just you can't get enough acts, and like naked phase 1s feel bad. Like I'll take a dodge and hide behind a rock and hope someone uses it. I guess right. It's experiment. But I guess my endpoint is just experiment with stuff. You never know.
Yeah, well, I think on that point, you were talking about Lando earlier, actually, and
he didn't show.
Reminded me that I think that there's 2 units that are both like they're not anywhere near like E-Web. Well, even E-Web is like playable, but anywhere near say. I can't even use FD cannon.
Speaking of the E-Webs, the FD cannons showed
up. Like, but I mean, nothing is really unplayable. Like Lando and Kallus are 2 units that I think are, like, I think they're kind of poo-pooed a little bit by the general like competitive.
They've got great cards.
They are, but I think
I'm a little bit down on Kallus in some ways, but I mean, they're both solid units, and like if you put, like if somebody's bringing a list that's innovative and uses those units well, and then they just put in the time and they practice with that list and they get good with it, like you can win with anything. I think.
I think the biggest thing that holds Kallus back is I wish they just put something in his one pip saying he can't be force pushed.
That would be nice.
He just sucks. He sucks you in, and he's gonna die to a lightsaber user. But at least he's a roadblock for just one turn.
It also it doesn't work for force push and it doesn't work for disengage.
That feels bad. You're like, you can't withdraw.
You're stuck with me unless you can walk away.
What they should have done is done like the Chewie 2-pip, but in reverse for him, where it's like anytime the unit that he's engaged with like moves or like performs, like does like a move or performs a move, Kallus moves with them. Or something.
He just follows them.
That'd be at least cool, right? Like a neat, like, no, I agree because I was looking at Lando, and we'll jump to you in a sec, Nick. But I was just looking at the dude, standby on Luke, so he gets to double attack this because that's the whole thing with Vader and Krennic. I'm like, here, deploy the garrison, good luck, right? But to say like, I was shocked that wasn't there because I was like, man, that's so
I think
good.
there's two things that Lando does actually for Op Luke. First off is the standby, which even if there are situations where the standby wouldn't stick, the alternate is a dodge. And Op Luke loves his dodges. Right. And then the other one is he with his contingencies, he lets you take Luke's like sometimes like super situational, but also potentially game-winning cards like you serve and I am a Jedi. Lets you just keep them in contingencies. That's awesome.
So I think that contingencies may be one of the issues with those two units for why like people are down on them a little bit. And maybe this is partially my own personal opinion on them, but I think contingencies is a really flexible keyword. It's really strong, right? But it doesn't translate to any direct like power on the board, in my opinion. Like it's not like an extra die that you're throwing in
tenacity. It's not tenacity.
Right. You
have to either stumble into or manufacture the situations where you're actually getting some sort of meaningful advantage out of it.
Right. And in that way, I feel like both of these units were slightly perhaps like overestimated in their value initially. Was that like we thought contingencies was going to be really, really strong, but I think it kind of turns out that like most lists are usually just playing 6 really strong command cards like every game, maybe 5. Like sometimes you'll have like those dud command cards, like not a big deal. But I mean, contingencies just at the end of the day, it isn't really upgrading like it's like maybe you're gonna get like some minimal value to like swap one of those 6 command cards to like something else that does something like slightly better in this one situation in this one game, right? But I think overall, like it's not drastically like improving your situation on a game by game basis, and I think that's one of the issues with both of those two units. But I think Luke, if you pair him with Luke, then like you've got such a strong suite of cards at your disposal.
And there's a little bit more like Luke is going to need a commander anyway. Lando's cheap enough. He still has your vigilant slot if you want to do that.
Anyway,
he's
good. Do it. Try it out. End of the day, I'm just like, try it out. Let me know. I think there's something there. But all right, Grammar, tell us the rise
tale
and fall
of Adepticon. So I won't spend too much time on it, but I did end up winning skirmish, and the camera is filtering it out.
As requested. Perfect.
Oh no. The machines are siding with Evan. But and it was a great time. It was mostly for me to get. I built a degenerate list. Fully admitted, it was Kraken, a couple MagnaGuards with rockets, jammers, and tenacity. Those jammers were so gross. And then 3 B1s with E5Cs. I had aggressive tactics and a relay, I think, and that was all 500 points, and it was gross.
You said 6 activations?
Yes, 6 acts.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. It was very, very gross. had some really tight games, including one on stream where I had to just huddle and hide that an ATSD wouldn't blast me off the table. But it was
heavies feel a little bit like cheating in skirmish. From my experience.
My first two games were ATSD double do back. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I played against an ATSD double do back on stream, and it was rough because the only like place I could hide from the ATSD was inside this one building in the middle of the map. So I had to just run through it and eat a turn first. MagnaGuard's so gross.
So you didn't take situational awareness on the guard, though?
I did not take situational awareness.
Okay.
They had enough thrown at them that I think they would be perfectly fine just spending their dodges on normal hits.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it did. But for the big boy tournament, I mentioned that I was bringing some grossness. The only little spin on it that I took is that I think normally you would run 6B1s. I actually ran 5 and a commando strike team. And that actually let me have a more some objective focused unit. I could get some scouting in there. They're more independent. I don't really care if they're on AI. And I never ran into a match where I would need it. But if I was against a red save gun line, I can keep them close to the super tac and override them to get some pierce.
Yeah,
which is one thing these droid gun lines do not have. They typically do not run any pierce.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But
it's hard to give the BXs enough aims or the orders to give them pierce. But I think the super tacs are like really pivotal.
Yeah, if they can just chill out and do it anyway for the cost of a suppression, I'm all right with that. And so I took this list and immediately lost game 1 to a very good Opluke player. Evan mentioned not name people on the podcast, which is fair, I guess, but I believe he made day 2, so he also did very well.
He was top 4, so his name's been
He went top 4?
No, I'm sorry. Was it Luke Gunline?
It was No, this was Flyboys. He was running.
Okay, all right. I see here.
He was running Luke Han, Chewie, and Double Wookiee.
Okay.
I believe he made day 2, but he did very well. It was a very close game. Ended up it was just be like one VAP tap off. I was a little bit shy of from running up and getting my VAP with his Wookiees in my face. So I ended up losing it by a VAP tap. But if I was more aggressive, maybe the Wookiees would have got to me. So I don't really know how that would have panned out. Then I bounced from an Opluke to a Evans Spirit Brother, a Yoda Chewie Lat. But ended up. I think that one was key positions. I don't think he was quite really expecting the level of beatdown that the Magnas can do.
Yep.
Excuse me.
These guys are. Yeah, the Magnas are pretty. They're very good.
The game I lost to Lupo was on my first day. I went 3-0 and I played Lupo, and I was kind of just like phoning it in a little bit because I'm like, I'm in. And then he had double Magna Dooku.
Oh,
and
I'm just dying here.
Yeah. It's just, I was like kind of watching the camera. I'm like,
yep,
this is gonna be one of those things where a man dies live on going on live leaks. And his Magna got to Vader, and I'm like, he'll be okay. 9 damage, 7 damage, and I'm like, ooh. So in the first 2 rolls were like nuts, and I'm like, he rolled 9. I'm like, blah 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 blah, dice, blah blah blah, and I throw all mine. I get all the blocks. I'm like,
yep.
Me sorry, it's just like me say nothing no more. No. And then the second came through, and I got another crazy like roll off, and I'm like, what's going on? And then finally 7 hit, and I blanked like 6, and I'm like, okay, that's
there
fine.
He goes.
Like,
okay,
this is I
balance has been restored.
But I was just like, what? It's like, oh yeah, my favorite character in the movies was the MagnaGuard where they killed Darth Vader.
It was a similar situation in this they just they ran up. Chewie had taken a little bit of shooting. A squad just from like 5 wounds just deleted him. and then the next turn, both squads converged on Yoda and just bashed him to death.
Yeah, just hit with baseball bats, right? Doesn't even matter.
Like, it was.
I mean, Magnas are in a situation right now where they're so hyper efficient at range because they have got like 1 to 2 dodges or aims on them from super tactical droids and retinue. And then they're throwing like 1 to 2 crits per turn on their range 4 shots. That it's not really worth shooting them. When they're just kind of like doing
when they're
the gun
dodged
thing,
up,
right?
Yeah.
And so as soon as a game starts to like close into like those melee distances, like MagnaGuards are almost always at full health, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're bringing strike like
snipers will go through them.
Unless you're bringing Galactic Civil War strike teams, those MagnaGuard are gonna, unless you maybe did some like poor threat analysis or maybe that was the only unit you had to shoot. Like the MagnaGuard are gonna be at full health. And like those guys hit like trucks in melee. You know what I mean? So
speaking of their shooting, their range 2 shot. Don't sleep on that either. It hits almost as hard as their melee does if they got the rocket.
So Grebber and I were talking. There's a lot of things going on with Magna, but I was actually disappointed that it was just retinue, just commander slot. I was really hoping there's going to be retinue Dooku Grievous.
Yeah, Dooku Grievous would be
like because then you're already paying a cost for a lightsaber user. You're not getting away with like the cheap guy, like the super tack, right? So you're kind of already committed to points, and then like you're just adding more points. Like I don't know if it's like I'm not trying to like fix a unit, but like I was kind of disappointed that wasn't a little bit more thematic with like the.
Yeah, or not seeing Grievous get like entourage for Magna.
Yeah, Grievous entourage, man, it would be interesting.
That would be really cool.
Thank you guys for taking the lead for me while I was dying there.
No, I was like watching to see if you just like fall like out of the chair, like, and we're gonna move the card over
but yeah,
his
so
face.
MagnaGuard just rolled over my game too. They're broken. Game 3 was actually against Izzy, and that was a lot closer.
Izzy's a good player.
Yeah, against Opluke again, but
his Opluke is really good.
At this point, this was Intercept, I believe, and the MagnaGuards did work here, but the real hero was the B1s, all of the B1s, because Opluke can't kill them all, and they just flooded the middle point towards the end. Some attrition back and forth with like the spiders and stuff, shooting the rest of his rebels, but in as brief a summary as I can get it, the B1s just flooded the point too much. And then comes the TK. Round 4, I had to play Bushman. We were fighting to get into day 2.
Oh, no.
Yep. And it was Intercept again. And he was running Yoda, Padme, double melee Wook, single shooty Wook.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. And I basically kited him for a bit, even though it was Intercept. I ended up losing a spider for it, but I just gave him some ground and backed up and shooting him as he got to me, and was able to wear him down enough that my final push in could take it. And I think we ended up, I don't remember if I won by 1 or we tied and I got it on kill points, but on the final push. But one kind of interesting ruling in that game that did come up was Chewie got surrounded in melee, and he played the card where Yoda snaps to him, the little backpack card.
Yeah.
It's 2-pip, yeah.
Yeah, and so the ruling was, again, kind of like Evan's thing, where it falls to margin of error. You just put Yoda as close as possible. So for those out there at home, you can still play that card if Chewie's surrounded. You just
interesting.
Yeah, so he'll just snap to him.
So it does actually move Yoda then. It's not like
it does move Yoda as close as possible.
It's not like one of those cohesion issues where it's like, oh, if you can't put another guy in when you're snapping into melee cohesion, then that guy just sits where he is.
Yeah, I believe the ruling was that it falls under margin of error. So being margin of error, it's just get it as close as you can.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you can even get like a reposition on Yoda out of that too.
Yeah, because it's a place, not a move. So when Yoda comes back, that does not trigger a standby. That was I didn't know that because I saw it. Forget what I was playing. Maybe just my store. He placed down. I'm like, well, Yoda, you've made your final mistake. And then I had to read the card a couple times. I'm like, nope, never mind. You get away with murder. Yeah, all right. Prepare to murder my Death Troopers. But yeah, no, it's a place, not a move, so it doesn't trigger any like actions.
Yeah, it's not an actual action.
Right.
Yep. Although I did he ended up being able to go to a place where he could get around it. But even things like scale is actually like a bunch of actions combined. So like the first part of a scale will trigger a standby before like the rest of it kicks in. So like if you're watching a cliff and someone scales up to the top of it, you can shoot them as soon as they just do their first little climb part.
Yeah, because it's like standbys kind of they're weird because they kind of introduce like the stack to legions.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, Vader's moving in. Well, I'm going to trigger my standby to punch before your relentless happens. I'm like, hold
priority.
Right.
Counter spell.
Like we actually had one on the final table. We were when I was playing not the final table. I'm sorry. My last game, day one on stream with the gentleman who brought the double ion tank, where it was like his Magna had standby, Vader had standby in melee with the thing. So if he moved him out, that would be a trigger for Vader, but that standby move would have triggered the Magna. It was a weird situation of like we were like talking out like what would happen, and then like how like who moved into where, and it was because that would actually, if there was room theoretically, there's 6 droids left. Like if Vader had room, the Magnus could have moved in. Then whose attack goes first for relentless, or like they've got charge, I've got relentless, right? I move into I think, right? Like it was a
simultaneous
really weird,
events goes to blue player.
So you're saying this is like if 2 standbys like from different players are going off at the same time in
so let's say
to each other.
Let's just, to make this as like more watered down, is let's say there's one guy holding a box. Vader's got melee. Vader's got standby, and his Magna have a standby. He withdraws. So Vader says, hey, I'm going to use my standby to touch you. But before relentless happens, because I did an action, the Magna go in and they get a charge, right? Because they moved.
Yeah.
Well, technically there isn't a stack in Legion. So I don't know if that
I think the Magnus would then attack.
Well, I don't know if that's how it works in Legion, because I don't know if that means that when a standby triggers, all subsequent actions that may be follow-ups to the thing that triggered the standby, I don't know if those get all shoved up in the order while all the Magna standby actions get placed, like injected. Right. So I don't know if that's how it works, or if it's just like, off of your standby you can do this move, but like it's just the move, not like the relentless / charge portion. That's
help us, LJ.
So, it got weird. So we both decided, he decided like, I still think that's a bad move for me, because it's how things were working. I'm like, agree. We were just talking it out, right? Because it was getting near the end and things was getting closing out. But yeah, that came up and we were like, how does this even like, oh God, it's like, this is the like nightmare situation of Legion rules that weren't really meant to happen like this.
Right.
But I didn't mean to cut you off, Nick.
No, you're good. I'll get back to, now we're getting to the horror story part.
The end.
But so ended up then beating Bush, ended up going 3-1, made day 2. And I get paired first round. I was actually ended up 28th, I think, in day 1. So I was really hoping that someone would drop, because there was 37 people that went 3-1 or better. So if there would have been a drop, I wouldn't have had to do the play-in. But no one did, so we ended up doing 5 games, which included me for the play-in, and I actually ended up losing to a Road 1 list that had the blue player, and so I was red for the first time. And yeah, it was Road 1 with an FD, actually.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I remember him.
And
he had an interesting list.
I ended up having a choice between has red player Vaps or boxes against Road One. I ended up choosing Vaps. I think that one was the one in front, so I got an extra, like maybe I got a different deployment out of it or something. But he made a pretty big mistake early on where he actually put a SAB team exposed for turn 2. I could get it. I actually got he realized it on command cards, so he played complete the mission. So he gave them a suppression, and I think maybe low profile, or was that Cassian's that came up later?
They have low profile anyway.
They already have low profile.
Yeah.
Or no, I mean danger sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So he gave him a suppression with complete the mission, and into these SABs I put a double aim spider shot, a single aim spider shot, and a sniper shot, and did not kill them.
Wow.
And they
real shame.
And to his credit, I mean that was a big mistake, but he realized it in time to actually play a card and have a chance to fix it. He got out of it, and then I don't think he made a mistake the rest of the game because I had to try to hurry up and get to him, and I just couldn't close distance. And
real shame. The spiders didn't kill a SAB team. Real shame.
That's actually 2 spider shots. Like, I'm surprised. He was just fishing in the bag to try and give them an order, I guess.
No, they had an order because it was the Jin's 3 pip.
Oh, so he just let them sit there like for multiple actions while they got shot.
No, they didn't. They weren't able to. The first shot was open. Well, it actually went to heavy cover with the suppression and low profile, but then he pulled them back because I played a 1 pip.
Oh, got it.
Then he pulled them back, but he couldn't get them out of line of sight. They were still just in. Now they're super heavy cover.
I see.
And then the second spider shot hit and the sniper shot hit, and I couldn't. But the first spider killed 1 guy, and then the extra guy got hit, and I just couldn't finish him off.
Real shame.
Yeah, it was rough, but he actually played a very good game.
That was his. I was talking to that guy. That was his first big tournament. And
I think so.
He brought like I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, and you introduced yourself to me like 2 or 3 times, but my brain goes to like
Evan
to just mud after like 8 games. I'm like,
I'm trying to not name names, but if you know who you are, and if you want to, you can look up on the ladder if you really want to. But
yeah, he brought a really cool list because it was Rogue One, and that's just cool. Like, all right, you're playing for the love of the game, right? Like but he did it with like. Yeah, just a satellite dish too. It was like,
he fed it a bunch of aims, and it was pretty scary.
The big these dishes wash you. The 3 satellites with 2 land speeders. Like that was the talk of the town. But there's something to be said about just bringing 1. Like, hey, this is gonna sit up on this point and fire every turn, right?
Especially in real life tables, right?
Yeah, and he had a heavy bid, so with him being able to force missions where that dish would have to matter, I think it worked out pretty well.
Yep.
But what happened there is I ended up losing what I thought at the time and had been referred to as a play-in round. This is, again, it's going to come off a little sounded, but nothing against Brennan. Like, running a tournament like that is incredibly difficult. But so out of the 5 people that lost the play-in round, so there was 5 games, 3 of us, myself included, just left. So we thought we were out of day 2 because we didn't make the play-in. Apparently that wasn't the case, and it just ended up being a Swiss, but we were just out of contention to move on to day 3. But honestly, for me, it worked out great because I played skirmish before and I was playing team after. So that was like that freed up the only block of time that I'd have to go like enjoy the con with my brother and the friends that I came with and stuff. And we went out to dinner and had a great time. Honestly, that was probably ideal.
Meanwhile,
I made day 2 and started to have fun with my friends. But I do feel sorry for it. I try to tell Brennan this too. It's okay. It worked out for me. I do really feel sorry for those other 2 guys if they didn't have like the plans in place and they just got like they just walked away because they thought they were done, and they just like wandered around the convention hall sad for like a day. Like that would have really sucked.
I've been there before. At least it was Adepticon and not like Nova. So you do like one lap around the tables, like the convention circle.
There was plenty of stuff to do. Like, I enjoyed it. We went off and bought into Drop Fleet and spend money to quell my sorrows.
Yeah, that was me day 3. I walked over. I'm like, I'll take the Shovel Knight board game. I'll take that. Like, load it up. Yeah, I don't care. Just get
Rumble Slam, you got it.
Rumble Slam wrestling game. Oh, there's rats and speedos. Yeah, load it up.
Whatever you say, boss.
Yeah, so it worked out fine for me, but so it did end up making day 2. Not who knows how far I could have gotten. Obviously not top 4, but
big rip. Like
somebody here.
Yeah.
But
honestly,
so
there was just a couple. Like looking back at my run, I had a very press W list. I just go forward and pray. Like there's a couple times when like one suppression die roll mattered, and if they had gone the other way, I probably would have lost. So just like so those are good games, right? When it comes down to like you both played at your maximum level, and it just comes down to like a roll that like that's I feel okay with that. Like
right.
But it definitely I could have. There's a number of games where I could have just lost because suppression didn't get rolled off. So it was I don't want to say I got lucky because I don't want to demean anybody who I played through, right? That's not fair because they played hard too. Like that's not what I'm trying to say. But it's definitely a few things that just kind of worked out in my favor a few times.
But I think that's a requirement for going deep into tournament.
Yeah,
right? Like at a certain point,
skill is important and will set you up for these chances, but
right.
You gotta. I mean,
at a certain point, the differences in player skill level will be so minute that that really luck becomes like the bigger factor, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, like, hey man, I just got that really hot defense roll, and that's the game.
Like a skilled player will make top 16. It takes a skilled and a lucky player to make top 4. I think.
Yeah, it was just crazy. Like I will say some
or
parting
Luke
thoughts.
Cook and just Luke
Cook and just like. And just keep going. I will say it was cool that some final thoughts on Adepticon so we can do a little bit about Invader because you're both playing Invader, and then maybe a quick preview of the Scum stuff.
Hold on. I do have one thing. I promised a Sab story.
Okay.
All right. So
sob story.
So day 3 was, for those of us not playing in top 4, was the team tournament if we wanted to do that, and my brother busted his ass and painted up a full 800 point mall list in like 2 weeks just to play the team tournament.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, we'll double Sith Lord this. So I brought Dooku out, and we ended up between us. We had Dooku, Maul, generic tac, 11 squads of B1s, all with heavies, I think. A B2 squad with like the full like tac droid, HA gun, like the full hat setup, and 3 squads of MagnaGuard.
Ugh.
And so the Sab story happened in our game 2. It was Danger Close, I believe, was the one that kind of looks like 2 C's facing each other. Uh-huh. And there was a couple Sab teams scouted up like on the side closest to us behind a nice big brick of a line of sight blocker. And it was hostage exchange. So we did the double Sith Lord thing where they go and they keep like force pushing the hostage and throwing him back towards our lines. And we were filing all of our B1s almost and the MagnaGuards just into this like one narrow opening. I mean, it wasn't actually that narrow. It was like, 10 inches across, but it's narrow when you're filling it with 11 squads of B1s.
Right.
So he runs the Sabs in. And we counted, and with 3 back-to-back bombs, I believe he hit 11, 10, and 9 units.
Oh my God. What a nightmare.
2 of them in each were the unit that threw the mine and his own hostage that he was trying to kill so that the Sith Lords would stop just force pushing it away.
Oh God. Yeah.
It was...
Sir, they're bombing us. cut the comms. They know what they said.
We were just using whatever tokens we could find for suppression. Like it was the most insane.
That's glorious.
It turns out to be like a 3-hour turn 2.
It was. We made it to like turn 3. I think maybe we talked out a 4. Like I don't remember, but it was insane. Just the amount of we were doing it in teams. We had one person ready with defense dice, another one was doing the attack dice, and we just go quick, bam, 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 just to try to get through all these. And we had like for this area, we started having like just a global suppression counter. So everyone has this much suppression plus whatever they have. Like it was insane.
I will give a shout out.
Stuff.
Oh, go ahead.
Seeing 11 squads of B1s just try to fit in a deployment zone is insane. But yeah, it was a really. You thought skirmish was crazy. This team tournament was where the real craziness was.
I will give a shout out to the quad lat 6 bike team who dressed up
as
old-timey flag.
Yes,
true sons of the Empire all. I wish
the
I
goggles
had some award I could give them.
Immediately fogged up, and
you're
they
breathing.
just powered through, just like windshield wipering their goggles. They're trying to
I
play.
used them when I was playing Fallout. Like it's, I got the same things. I know what they do. Yeah, they're awful. They're funny, but they're awful.
These guys were wearing like aviator goggles with like the old, like World War II pilot or like World War I pilot, like leather caps with like the bomber jackets.
They were straight out of like the Red Baron.
Dude, phenomenal. Amazing.
Chef's kiss. It was beautiful.
But I'll give some parting thoughts. And then each of you can give a shot as we go down here. It's I think it was cool that we didn't get all of the same lists at the top. It wasn't like like I was really honestly expecting top 4 double ion spiders.
I need to double check the stats on this. I think droids had the lowest win rate.
I'm not sure. I know I fought through a lot.
I think that's a good sign though, because like as much as we give flack for the spider and the magnas, like the field is still really open. Like you can we're in a little bit of a meta like where you can kind of bring anything and win with it.
It's like a weird golden age
place to be,
where like everything kind of has a spot. Like there's very few units in the game that I would say are just like totally bad. Like maybe the Rebel Sabs, just because who cares, one impact, whatever, right? Like that's the only thing I could think of off the top of my head.
Funny programming note for you guys. I pulled up the 5th Trooper website to try to see if I could find any stats anywhere. And so 5th Trooper, for guys, if you're not aware now, can actually sell Legion products. They do it at a discount.
True.
And they've got the advertisement out there for their the Legion models. And the first 4 are MagnaGuards, Dwarf Spiders, Wookiee Warriors, and the Super Tap.
Well, shocker. They're pretty good.
But they're also new. Like, those are things that new, most people aren't going to own if you know. So
here you go.
I'll shoot to Ben. What's your final thoughts you got for Adepticon? Your parting words.
I mean, it was a lot of fun. I am really bummed that I didn't make day 2 because that was my personal goal.
Yeah.
I'm in a little bit of a slump right now overall for my Legion games, and I think Adepticon is like kind of carrying over with that. But overall, like the event itself was just a ton of fun. It was great to see everybody in person again. It was a lot of fun. So 10 out of 10 would go again next year.
Dude, I feel you. I've been this take the Adepticon out of it, right? Like that was crazy run I had, but whatever. So like before that, it was like I went to a local and went like 0-3, and with my list, I'm like, oh no, but that hadn't been just that only time. Then I went to another one, went like 1-2, and then another one I was playing some casuals where I was like they're brand new to the game, and I'm like kind of helping them play, right? And they're just like dumpstering me, and I'm like, so no, and nothing feels worse to me than losing on TTS. Like I hate it. So like it's it's just something else.
You didn't enjoy all our practice games?
Oh god, the Ion Spider shoot for crits. Okay. But no, man, like it happens, dude. Like I felt it. I went to like the first maximum firepower event. I didn't make day 2, and that was the first Adepticon that did Legion. but everyone had like put all their hopes because I brought right. It's a weird thing to like when you got a lot of hopes of you winning on your back from other people. Like I truly appreciate all the support I got from when I was playing in Adepticon. But when I lost that game, my last game, I got pretty emotional about it. I had to go to my room for a minute just to like kind of collect myself because it was like I didn't want to let him down because I've never had that before. Like I've done martial arts events and did jujitsu competitions and things like that. And I never really had a support. Like my gym was very weird. We're very sweaty gym at the time. So you just kind of went and you went alone and no one came. So when I lost, it was just me, right? No one was like, hey, good job, Evan. You did it. It was like, all right, pick up your shoes and get out of here, kind of thing. But so like that was rough. And I understand though, like slumps, like it's real, man. Like that's why I stopped in X-Wing 2.0 because I couldn't figure it out anymore. And I just kind of like walked away. But no, I feel you, dude. It happens. And my cat's screaming at me because I'm talking too much. And your cat
says keep going too.
Sometimes it means you need a break, and sometimes it means you should just play more. And for me, I'm just playing more right now. So we'll see if that works out.
Different list.
I've been half thinking about breaking into a different faction possibly, but that would be like contrary to my handle, right?
Yeah, I know. Right?
So I don't know. I can't just betray the Empire like that. So we'll see.
So I'll put it on Adepticon. It was all fantastic. The tables, all things considered, were great. The event was great. It was so nice being able to actually go and see everybody in person. It was my first like outing as a 5th trooper, so it was a lot of fun. My one thing that I would say if you were gonna go, and I would say probably, granted I had a blast with it, but don't do what I did and don't do everything. Don't play the team, the full, and the skirmish.
Yeah, it was miserable. I was so miserable at the end.
it was super busy. But take some time to relax and enjoy the con. Like you'll want to do that. So kind of maybe drop an event just to make sure that you'll have time to go check everything else out.
I wanted to buy you. They had stuffed Irby mechs from BattleTech at the
that would have been amazing.
Place. Yeah. It's so if you've ever familiar with BattleTech at all, Ben, the Irby mech is like this kind of joke because it's like a potato on legs.
Yeah.
So like all BattleTech mechs are like really cool angular missile pods. And this thing's just like a potato legs, and it doesn't even really have arms. It just has
it's just got a gun like glued to the side.
Yeah.
That's about it.
It's become kind of a joke in the community, and so they made like a stuffy out of it. And I'm
that's great.
I'm like, I was gonna get that. Then I'm like, well, I'll be back. I'll have time. I didn't have time.
I didn't see it, or I would have snagged it immediately. But
so we're running a little long. So here's what I think we'll do. If you're free again, Ben, we'd love to have you on.
Yeah.
And we can go over it because you'll have some Invader League games in by probably the next time we record.
He'll probably have beaten me by then. So
we'll see. We'll see.
Good.
I think you beat me last year, Nick. So
yes, I did. So he owes me vengeance.
It's gonna be a grudge match.
And you know what we'll do? I'm kind of hoping I'm hoping we can do the scum reveals. Not like we're gonna get anything ahead of time or anything, but like hopefully we get like an article.
Yeah, we shouldn't be too far away.
A picture of some cards.
They're out in June.
Yeah,
according to their the page they posted. So
I wouldn't be surprised to see some spoilers or leaks. One of the two. Pretty soon.
So we got some back art, but it's like from the French stuff, and I was thinking like, do we go over? I'm like, well, hopefully by the next time we'll
just wait for something big.
Yeah. Just give me AMG. Look, man, I actually do approve everything you've done with Legion so far. But your delivery system of information is awful. I get you want people to go to the streams. I get it, and that's where you dump some information. But there's that saying from The Office, like, I wish you knew when the good old days were, so you could appreciate them more. Like, I wish I knew that we all made fun of the Fantasy Flight articles because they always said something wrong or like.
Just the and the puns, the cheesy.
Yeah.
puns.
It was, but every Friday there was a Star Wars article for one of their games, whether it was going to announce the new. It would announce Outer Rim or a new X-Wing expansion or a new Legion thing. You got hyped for it. I have no idea when any information is ever coming for this. And like I found, but through a Facebook ad, that Outer Rim was getting an expansion. You can't tell me you couldn't put out like a bit. I don't know. I'm getting a little complaining, but I was just like, I'm a diehard.
You complaining? What? No, never.
Yeah, never. I'm a diehard whale for this game. All right, I'm moving into port, baby. I want all the stuff. So I'm not even asking for like a roadmap. Just like even if you don't have a big thing to say, just be like, hey, we got an article coming out next week. Instead
Stay
of just
tuned.
Some leaked pictures from a French expo. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? I got Google Translate. I don't want to do work. That's not what I'm here for. So we're running a little late, so I think I'm going to call it. But thanks for coming on, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for everyone
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no, man, you're welcome to. I'd like you on next time too.
Anytime.
Do some Invader League.
We'll have you on for your victory speech when you beat me.
Oh, please, please. Yeah, man.
Oh,
that'd be so good.
Evan needs it.
I do. Yeah. I need an assassin. I can't beat him on TTS. Everyone, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Stay rad, and we'll catch you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of the 5th Trooper podcast.
This has been a 5th Trooper production.